Plus people. Scott Morris, of course, on a Wednesday. The show is presented by Ross Mortgage. When the show starts, you'll see Keith Smith, Scott Morris, and Kerry Griggs talking real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You, the viewer and listener, can interact with the program by shaping the discussion with comments, perspective, and questions in the feed. Heck, you need to sell a house? We can help you do that too. You got questions about mortgages, we can help you with that as well. Refinance demand is picking up like gangbusters, at least from a national level. I would imagine locally it's picking up. Rates are dropping.
Rates are dropping. Rates are going back up. We saw a huge decline last week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. When I came on last week and talked about the ADP report that came out and how unrealistic that might be, and how it got straight mollywopped on Friday with the actual jobs report, and we saw that's a technical term.
Mollywopped?
Yeah.
I like that.
Things turn around negatively because of it, but.
I wrote that down, by the way.
Mollywop is great. I think he just dropped a sizzle reel right there without knowing it. We'll make sure we get that in the can when the show starts. Give the show a like and a share. Johnny Ornalis is watching the program, the owner of El Mariachi in Guadalajara. J.O., we absolutely love you. Give it a like and a share. If you want to give Kerry Griggs some props, just put it in the feed as well. J-Dubs, questions are coming in, so I think, my friend, we should probably start. Guys, good Wednesday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. It's a pleasure to connect with you guys through the I Love Seville Network on a program presented by Ross Mortgage and Scott Morris. Scott Morris, guys, is making dreams come true and helping people get into the home of their dreams, the vacation home of their dreams, or helping them refinance the home of the dreams. Scott Morris and Ross Mortgage is the guy you should call if you need any financing related topics, issues, or just some money to buy a house or a vacation property. Keith Smith, guys, the star of the show. Kerry Griggs, looking super sharp and dapper today as well. Judah Wickhauer is the director, the man that keeps the audio and visual on track. If you can go to the studio camera and welcome a true cast of characters, friends and brothers from different mothers. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome. Good to see you back.
You guys look great.
Yeah.
And you do too, sir.
Thank you kindly.
You do too, sir. I'm trying to see what's in the pink bottle
there. This right here is to prevent me getting any kind of stuff that my boys have at any given time. It's airborne and water. I try to drink one of these every day.
Yeah.
When our two boys are a little unruly, I can't drink it at breakfast, so it comes with me to work.
There you go.
And that was today. Yeah. Unruly boys this morning. I think both these gentlemen can relate, Scott and Kerry, with unruly children.
Yep. Yeah. And they bring everything home. They're like, hey,
Dude, we were having this conversation with my brother-in-law, with my brother and my sister-in-law. I don't know if you guys experience this. They get completely healthy over the weekend because they're with mom and dad.
Yep.
Then they go anywhere on Monday where it's like school or sports. By Tuesday, they got something. Wednesday, it's worse. And then we got to get them healthy. Thursday, Friday, they get better on the weekend. And then they're back having something on Monday and Tuesday again. It's like every single week.
And then you get it in the middle somewhere.
Somehow. And that's why I'm drinking airborne.
They recover a lot quicker than we do, too.
They do.
Hey.
Yeah.
And it's like a week passes, and then you finally start to catch it, and you're like, oh, my God, I feel awful.
Yeah.
And then they're just full of life, and they want to play. And I'm like, you can't deny them that pleasure.
Gentlemen, it doesn't get better when you become a grandparent, by the way. It's literally the same thing.
Same process. Vicious cycle.
Jonas actually makes me drink airborne every morning.
Airborne's
I have an airborne every morning. At least that's what she's telling me is in it. I don't know. Could be something.
Sedated.
Could be something. Keep me sedated. That's probably more the thing. But she's heading out actually after the show today. I'm taking her up to the IAD to fly out to Seattle to help Yvonne with the grandbaby, but maybe she'll come back with a little something. So, Kerry, let's dive in. Introduce yourself. It's been a while since you've been on.
Yeah.
Hey. So refresh everybody's memory who the heck you are.
Hey, guys. Kerry Griggs here with Keller Williams. I've been an agent for over 5 years. I like doing this business. I get to meet people, great people. I get to do what I love, go into houses, see different ideas and designs, and I just try to get out there and grind for me and my family, represent my brand.
Well said. I love it. Scott Morse is in the house. Scott, I think I think the community is starting to count on you for this content you're creating on this program and creating a sense of consistency and sensibility and offering some clarity with everything that's going on. Why don't we start with the Scott Morse sizzle reel here, Judah Wickower. Where would you like to begin, my friend?
So last week we came on and talked about the ADP numbers that came out and how they were showing some softening in the jobs market and how ADP might not be that reliable. Well, as soon as we got that, we saw the markets loved it. I actually quoted a VA purchase at 5.25 on Thursday.
Wow.
With no discount points.
Nice.
That same rate 6% today. So we've seen over like as far as a swing goes, a full interest rate and a half, where we went from like 6 and some change down to 5.25, back up to 6% in the span of 5 days. So when I also talked that day about how volatile things were going to be, and that this is an example of that. And I also used the phrase that if the Fed wants to do what the Fed wants to do, the message they're going to deliver is the beatings will continue until inflation improves, and that's what they're going to come out and say today. We're seeing the 5th straight day of the equities markets not having a good time, and we're going to see these ups and downs. A lot of people think that this jobs market, the jobs report that came out on Friday that smashed the ADP, is a flash in the pan, that we're going to start seeing a softening. And hopefully that's the case. But typically we don't see that softening in the jobs market until the rates increases have paused, and we're just not there yet.
Nicely done. That's the first one, Judah Wickower. Keith Smith.
Yeah, so I usually try to kick in a little bit when you're on the show with us. How's your application?
I will use the term mollywopped
I wrote it
again
down
before we get to the end of the program.
I'm going to use that twice today. I guarantee you twice today.
Mollywop.
I've heard dually whopped, but I've never heard of mollywopped.
Yeah. A great example was
You must have defined it at this point.
was Georgia in that championship football game.
You mean that football game that they tried to play?
Yeah.
That one?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Georgia Mollywop TCU.
Yes.
That's what he's saying right there.
Yes.
I was going to ask for you to use it in a sentence, but that clarified everything.
That's perfect right there. Kerry Griggs, a sports fan, a rugby fan. How's your business doing?
Business is going good. We had a little bit of slowdown. The best way I can describe it is, when you're driving down the highway and you are late for an appointment, but you see a police officer in the distance, so you hit the brakes real hard to get to the speed that you need to do, and then you start cruising at the right speed, the speed limit which you're supposed to be going. That's kind of what it felt like in the past couple months with the holidays around, the market softening up and interest rates going up. You did see a slowdown in purchases a little bit, but since the new year has started, I feel like I've been on more listing appointments. Buyers are starting to come back into the market, and when you partner yourself with a good lender like Scott, you have alternatives that you can do and try to buy your rate down, or you got programs that you can utilize. Tell them about the 2-1 buy down.
So the 2-1 buy down is an opportunity to use the seller's credit towards your closing cost to buy down the prepaid interest of the loan for the first 2 years. So if today's rate was 6.5, then your first year would be 4.5, your second year would be 5.5, and you'd be 6.5 in perpetuity, with the concept that you would hopefully be able to refinance the loan before you had to stay at 6.5. But if you did, this isn't an adjustable rate that you have to worry about further increases. You know what your fixed payment's going to be in a worst case scenario for the life of the loan.
That's fantastic right there. That was your best explanation of the 2-1 buy down. How about Kerry's question and to Scott's answer for the second reel? Keith Smith. That was good.
So add a little bit to that, because if I use this 2-1 buy down and refinance in, say, a year, what do I get to do?
So if you were to refinance while you're still in the payments of the prepaid interest, once that loan is satisfied, made whole in the refinance, the current servicer owes you the difference of that prepaid interest, so you could get a check back that would actually help pay for the closing costs involved in the refinance after the fact, but at the same time, you'd be getting money back from the refi.
That's good there. Second sizzle ends right there with Keith's question and to Scott's answer. You're on point today. Kerry's got something he wants to jump in on here.
I have a question for you, Scott. Like, what do you think would be, and again, it's a case-by-case scenario, but what do you think would be more beneficial for buyers, a 2-1 buy down or to use that seller credit in order to buy the points to use that for the fixed rate if you don't know where the market is going to be or interest rates are going to be in the next 2 to 3 years?
It would depend on your comfort level. The problem would be in putting all the money towards the discount points and then refinancing anyways, you would never see the benefit. So let's say you received $10,000 on a $300,000 purchase in closing cost. Let's say it was FHA, you received a full 6%, so you got 20 grand. You used 10 to pay for your closing costs, and you used an additional 10 to buy down the rate, but not in using the 2-1. Well, let's say that you refinanced that loan 2 years in, you left 7.5 years roughly. Probably, I don't have an actual payment calculator in front of me, but you're probably talking about 8 years or so to recoup that full $10,000. So you literally left years of that money on the table that you didn't take advantage of.
And you don't get to, if you refinance it, you don't get.
Yeah,
to.
it's lost money. You never truly saw the benefit outside of the initial payments before you refied.
I love the shows when I just sit here and listen.
Yeah.
And make notes. So I made 2 notes. Note number 1 is Kerry for guest host. So you,
I know, dude's good. I know.
You just signed yourself up for when I may or may not be traveling to sit in this seat. So
Nice.
I think Carrie enjoys doing the show.
I do. I love doing this show. It's an opportunity, like you said, I get to sit around with my brothers and kind of just talk business, talk shop.
Talk shop and a bunch of people. The other one is I need to get into asking Scott, how's business? How's your applications? And I think pre-production meeting, you mentioned you wrote a couple of deals last week. So is tempo picking up for you?
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Not a problem. He's doing
I think
business.
he's closing a deal
He's
while
doing
we're on the show right now.
Actually trying to.
buddy.
Well,
Ross
working.
Mortgage is on fire, man.
Are things picking up? Yes.
Tempo, contracts.
Yes. Applications, leads, applications, applications to pre-approval contract are all increasing. Yes.
So those who watch the show know I've been following, I typically do week over week, what's coming on, what's going off, and just to kind of cut it down to a number that's a little shocking, and not necessarily shocking, but we've been predicting this for a while. Last week, we had 67 homes go pending, same set of 7 days going backwards a month ago. Today, we're at 88. That's a 24% increase. So there's 24% in a month, more homes week over week went into pending. Actives are flat.
Yeah.
We're at 63 last month, 64 this week. So I keep a track on that. So Kerry, I know you're saying it took a bit of a, let's call it a break, Christmas break. We're kind of back into a little bit. Talk about your business. Talk about the conversations you're having at the dining room or the kitchen table about, should I list now? Should I buy now?
Yeah, so last time, I was on the show, we were talking about, buyers versus sellers. And so I've put a little more concentration on working with sellers, and I've had more listing appointments in January than I usually do. And I feel like sellers are starting to realize that they have the ability to come to the market, get a reasonable price for their listings, and have somewhere to go. Inventory's not moving as fast as it once did a year ago, 2 years ago. So you're seeing the days on market go a little bit longer for the houses that are on the market. I still think we have an inventory problem, and it's going to take some time before that gets corrected. And I don't know how to correct it other than just partner with builders.
You just answered the question I was about ready to ask you. We're stating, and I'm looking week over week, we are as flat can be as far as inventory goes. But we're upticking on our pendings, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's try to answer the question. How can we get this inventory up?
Encourage builders. You can partner with the builders that are out here doing it. Start looking for the distressed properties that are just sitting out here. Agents, I'm finding a lot of the newer agents are going after some FSBOs and some houses that have expired and having reasonable conversations with the sellers. It's not the same market where you're getting, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 above list price anymore. So sellers are starting to come down. The expireds are coming back to the market. And I think that, having the ability to talk to a seller reasonably and show them where their pain points were with the pricing and that you can get the house sold, and then just more builders. I feel like the bank should be encouraging Class A contractors to get back here in the market. I'm partnering with a builder in the Scottsville area. He's going to be putting some new homes on the market, and then trying to partner with a builder in the Ruckersville, Greene County, and Louisa area. So I think we need to encourage the community to produce more builders. There's a lot of contractors out there that would love to go off on their own and do their own building.
On a positive note on that, I'll throw it to you, Keith. Ask Lisa Herndon, the CAR president. She was recently quoted in Legacy Media that there was a 61% increase in the Charlottesville area for new construction building permits. The largest increase is in duplex building and multifamily homes.
Yeah.
So that's a positive. We have potentially some new construction coming. When that comes and the impact it has on the market, time will tell, Keith.
Yeah, so those new hitting the market were in the pipeline for a very long period of time up until now. So it's not something that just miraculously happened in the last 30, 60, 90 days. These are projects that have been in the pipeline. Fluvanna County, for instance, has Colonial Circle. They're going to be probably the middle of this year start bringing in almost a couple of 100-unit new construction units, but they were in the pipeline for 6 years. Greene County's got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline. You know, this is the approval pipeline before it hits the market. You're going to see probably this time of year, mid-year, those numbers reversing, right? They're eating through all that inventory, and then there's going to be, I think, a slowdown on new construction. But at the moment, it's a bright spot.
But do you think that the duplex and the multifamily is going to bring more buyers back to the market or more investors back into the market?
I think it's going to be more potentially investors. I don't think the duplex and the multifamily is going to necessarily help our inventory crunch with people looking to get into homes, forever homes. But any housing added to this market is positive because it could potentially create a little bit more affordability for the community.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think
You
the
see a
new
lot of
duplex is going to create an entry point for first-time buyers, although the price, changed from where that duplex was 5 years ago to where it is now is certainly different. At the same time, with the lack of inventory, it creates an opportunity that I think a lot of investors are more likely to purchase, say, a distressed duplex to try to turn that into a profitable endeavor versus something that's new coming to market. I think that's going to be geared more towards the first-time buyer or the person downsizing.
I'm going to look at numbers here for a second, but I'm going to let Kerry pick a jurisdiction that you want to take a look at attached products right now.
I actually am curious about Louisa, Fluvanna area.
That's your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah, so
Well,
I live around Zions.
I can tell you without even going into Paragon.
Yep, I knew you were going to have an answer on that one.
That Fluvanna County has no attached products. They will once Colonial Circle comes on. So we can take a quick look at Louisa real quick. There's 4 attached products. These are duplexes or available for sale. And I didn't even factor into the new construction. These are just duplexes that are for sale. It happens to be all new construction. So there's 4 of them. They're all in Spring Creek. These are duplexes. I thought you were going to say Albemarle County because that usually has the highest count on. But so that the 4 that's for sale, active in Louisa County, which are in Spring Creek, the median sales price is $483.
Yeah,
List price, excuse me. That is not entry level.
No, it's not entry level, but I am curious now that you said it because a lot of my business is in Albemarle County. I like the Louisa area because that's where I live in that Zions Crossroads area, which it's growing rapidly actually, and I really like the commercial spaces.
So
that
you
they're
should
putting
be
out there.
keeping a track on the Friday shows. I'm bringing in some elected officials from Louisa, Fluvanna, all the
Nice,
jurisdictions,
nice.
and we're specifically going to talk about housing and how from a political perspective change that. So Albemarle County attached. So these are duplexes and townhomes.
Right.
There's 35 on the market. I have to get in here. Those include new construction and existing. Most of them are new construction. There's about 4 or 5 non-new construction. 459 is medium. sales
Wow,
price.
that's
The lowest price on new construction is $394.
man.
So
out there.
That's not entry level.
That's not entry level.
And it's
or
probably
first-time
not
home.
an investor either, because the math is going to be really
Yeah,
hard.
you just
hard to
the
work
cap
on.
rate.
Let me ask you this, guys. What is entry level now? What is first-time home buyer price point and the car footprint?
I would say around the 250, 300,000. And
I would
it's-
say that number has a 3 in front of it.
I think it has a 300
Okay.
front, low threes.
Where are
Buckingham.
these $200,000 properties?
Buckingham's
Oh,
the
there,
only spot.
don't get me wrong. There's none out there, but
Okay.
you know that's where most of your first-time home buyers or entry-level buyers are considering being a
I
first-time
think the
home buyer.
number used to be 285.
And now,
I think it's
315?
315. Yeah.
I mean,
So-
you can get,
And that's
you can-
still a super challenging price point.
I'm seeing,
Yeah.
we talked about the villas in Southern Ridge before the show. I'm seeing those condos trading at 225, 230.
Yeah.
That's in the Mountain View School District, a little past Wegmans down 5th Street and Extended. Maybe that's an entry. A lot of folks aren't crazy about the condo product.
Yeah. Most-
Maybe that's what you have to do if you want to buy a house and you hold it, see if you can get some equity, get some roommates, sell it, and then you can climb the ladder.
So in your experience, Kerry, and chime in, Scott.
Good morning, Neil Williamson.
Morning, Neil. Thank you for agreeing to come on Friday. Your typical buyer right now that you're looking at right now, do they want condos? Do they really, hey, I want a single-family detached home, but I can't afford it? Or
Yep.
what's that conversation look
The
like?
conversation usually starts out when I ask my clients what's your wants and what's your needs. They always want the single family with a
course.
little bit of yard, but
Fence,
yep,
place with the dog and the kids.
and the kids have a
White
little bit of
picket
yard.
fence.
Yep. But you know, realistically, it really all just depends on their budget. I hardly ever have those people that want the condos. Don't get me wrong, I have those clients
Yeah,
as
sure.
well. But the majority of families, they want to have, or in my experience, they want to have a little bit of a yard somewhere that they can let their dog out, kids play. And you just are not getting that around
Or in
here.
my case, kick the husband out and go
Yeah.
in the backyard. And
Go in the backyard and mow the yard.
But Keith and Scott, to Carrie's point, I mean, I wanted the same. Bought my first place, I think it was 25, and it was at the Villas. And I wanted the same. I had a dog, seen a couple ladies at the time. I wanted the backyard to do some grilling. All I could afford was the condo.
Yeah.
And then I got the condo, brought some roommates in, still own it. I had my next door neighbor sold it after 5 years, did the climb. What's wrong with the condo? Equation.
So that there is nothing wrong with the condo equation. That's where we all three of us here have to have a conversation with the buyer. You know, it's get in the game, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Jerry did. He built his equity up over time. And those who watch the show know I also chair the Piedmont Community Land Trust. And to put a number to it, to hit 80% AMI right now, area medium income on it, you can't buy anything over 215.
Really?
Then you're over the 80%
Wow.
AMI. So, and if you're at 100%, to Scott's point, that's probably got a very strong a 3 with a couple of strong digits after it.
Yep.
On that end of it. Then you got to find it. So you said you're listing some. I'm going to change this around a little bit. You're having some listing conversations. Talk about them. How those conversations going? Are people ready to start putting homes back on the market? Are we going to up that inventory number?
Yeah, I think we're getting back into what would be considered a normal market. You know, you got the spring season coming upon us. You know, everybody kind of waits, in my experience. Everybody waits during the holidays, and then they are ready. You know, they do the spring cleaning, or they're getting ramped up for the spring market. I think we're going to see an increase in the listings come into the market. I don't think that it's going to be the inventory that we necessarily need to satisfy all the buyers. I think we have about 2 months worth of inventory right now, but I think that we're going to see more of the seasonal behavior from the buyers and sellers come into the market.
I think we're already seeing it. The other question that I would kind of have would be, what helps you guys, what creates more existing inventory? Everybody talks about selling and how we talk, getting in front of people. Marketing is what helps. Who's helping you market? Who's helping you really get out there and, increase a video presence or, go back after your previous clients. Like there's so many basic things or even with a basic with a new twist that I don't think all agents are doing a great job of executing on. And I think that doing a better job personally provides a better product for your client as well.
Well, you need to do that.
I agree with that.
Without that, that's what is the back in the day when you actually went back to movies, right? They would start, right? Nothing happens. What if you don't advertise? What happens? Nothing, right? Or
Are we talking about silent film or like?
We're talking about those tassels on the shoes again over there.
Yeah.
We kid because we care, Keith. We love Keith Smith. On
No,
this
I'm
program.
just a little slow this morning. I don't have a good enough
Thing
comeback.
to come back with.
That's all. I'm only on my first coffee. Give me a little bit, and I'll do a comeback on that end of it. I'm trying to be well behaved here, sir.
You always are, Keith. Meredith Young, welcome to the program.
So the bottom line is to continue from your conversation. You've got to start with the marketing. People, don't be a secret agent, right?
Yep, don't be a secret agent.
People need to know that you're in this business. People need to know you're a trusted advisor, so you can get that invite to the table,
Yeah.
to the kitchen table. Then you start educating and helping folks through the process. But I posted, just to throw this out to everybody to talk about, I posted something yesterday from National Association of Realtors are putting out their normal 2022 home sellers experience and all that stuff. I'll read it. Sellers typically live in their home for 10 years before selling. This is an increase of 8 years compared over last year. So people are staying in their homes longer. Back in the day it was like 5 years, back in the 1800s with the tassels and all that stuff on that end of it. So that's not helping inventory because people are staying in their homes.
It's not.
Go.
I definitely think that the last 2 years have either motivated or discouraged sellers from actually selling the home. If they seen that they had a lot of equity into it, I think they were more apt to sell. But if they didn't think that they had a place to go because the market was crazy, I definitely think that hindered us just a little bit with putting inventory on the market.
I'll let you two guys chime on this. 41% of the buyers last year moved to a larger home. They're traded up to a larger home. So this whole thing about getting smaller.
I mean, isn't that the American way?
Yeah.
Well, if you listen to certain media thing, everybody thinks homes are getting smaller. The data's not proving.
Yeah.
Not proving it. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, honestly, I think back in the 70s, your average square foot at home was 2,300 square feet? Now-
1970s, right?
Yeah, 1970s, not 1870s. But I think the average home was like 20, or probably even smaller than that, like 2,100 square feet.
Yeah.
And now, that is like your first level of living. People are looking to upgrade from that. If you have a family of 4, they're looking at more like 3,000 square feet before they get into a home.
I'm going to set up a question for Kerry, but I'm going to start with you. We're still looking with your prediction of being under 5% by the end of this year.
You don't know, and I will caveat this. After you made that, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I think I've heard from, I want to do this conservatively, maybe 12 agents after listening to you on this show, watching this program, say that they got really excited when you made that comment.
All right. Well, let's think about it.
Literally.
Just think about it from this
Start
perspective.
thinking about this because I'm going to throw a question at you.
Last Wednesday, the market loved the fact that there was potential slowing in inflation and a softening in the jobs market enough to where I was legitimately quoting 740 credit, 700K purchase, VA at 5.25%, no discount points. Okay, so how much, we don't need a ton of room, a runway to get into the 4s if that's the case. However, as soon as reality hit and said, hey, that's not where we are, mollywopped back in the
Second one.
Yeah,
Back in-
2, baby, 2.
You should turn that into the third sizzle reel. Let's replace the other third one
Back in
with this
the
one right
sixes.
there because it got mollywopped in there.
Mollywopped.
Mollywopped. Anything
you
else you want to
literally
add to
make
that,
that up?
Scott Morris? We can keep the
I won't
sizzle
even
going.
tell you where that I originally picked that little
No,
piece of my
we'll have to do
lexicon
that
up.
off air.
Yeah,
I
off
think.
air.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Kerry?
I would like to see them go back in the 5s. Realistically, I don't know if it will. I want it to as an agent, and I want my buyers to be able to have that satisfaction.
But is that a good thing?
Is
sub 5 a good thing?
Well,
for the
and
market?
add this for you. What's that going to do to the market if we get sub 5 rates?
That's my
Are we
question.
going to
That's
go
the question
chaos
I'm asking.
again?
We're going to go chaos again because what it's going to do is it's going to allow the buyers to have more buying power. They're going to get more house for
But
their.
we're still in a buyer's market.
Yeah,
We're not in a seller's market.
yeah.
Excuse me,
Well,
a seller's
yeah,
market.
it's-
All the way around.
My dyslexia kicked in.
It's a seller's market.
I think it'll go gangbuster again if it gets back to that point because I think that's what the new norm has been for the last 3 years. And so, either one or two things are going to end up happening this year, I feel like, in my opinion. Either the rates are going to come down and we're going to have a really successful 2023, or the rates are going to go up and then we're going to have a different set of buyers in this buyer's pool. The ones that have experienced the 5 or sub 5s are going to be like, well, we're going to wait until we get into, a better position to buy down the rate. Or you're going to get these new buyers that didn't have the opportunity to capitalize in these last 2 years. They're going to come back into the market at around that 6 or 5.5. They're going to come back into the market, and that's going to be their new normal. And then they're going to be looking for the homes.
So, Scott, your typical first-time home buyer, what's their dollar price that they're at this point? About $350, something like that.
I would say 350 is that number, is the number right now. It's challenging. Rates are higher than they were 3 years ago when we kind of started tiptoeing into this price point for the first-time buyer, which makes that payment more challenging, which makes qualifying. You got an entire group of people who had to live through last year that didn't get under contract, and now they're looking at less house for more money, and it's an emotional ride. But if it fits their needs and if it supports their family dynamic and puts them in the best position, that's what we have to try to help them with.
So, as those who watch the show know, I do the 6 things all the time, every show, right? Location, price, features, condition, timing, and who's on the other side. On the other side matters. Active, detached, Albemarle County, 0 to $350,000. There's 14 homes available for sale, detached.
Are they all condos?
No, these are detached.
Oh, I got
These are
you.
detached. And if you look through it very quickly, the first 10, they need a 302. What is it? 203.
203K.
203.
Or,
I was about to
or a
ask.
conventional home style.
They need a little
TLC.
help. Little
Yeah.
help.
I was about to ask, how many of those will qualify for your typical financing?
Hey, I got a contractor who keeps around 20 renovations going at any moment, has crews that operate from Northern Virginia to Richmond, and does fantastic work. A HUD consultant that travels from probably the Norfolk area into this region, and one that comes from Northern Virginia down to here, and all 3 of those human beings communicate at a super high level. So there's a lot of people who tell you that, hey, we have this product. I can tell you that, hey, I actually do this, and we do it very well.
What surprises me as I earned my stripes in this industry, how many agents I talk to that has never successfully executed a 203K loan. It's not a very common loan unless you're in the industry and that's kind of your business model. But it's just not as commonly talked about.
I was originally told, don't do it, they're relationship killers, and they can be.
Yeah.
Explain that.
So once you get through my process, so the borrower is going to go out, they're going to make an offer of $250,000 on this $250,000 property, and they're going to close it. So the seller's going to, it's just like any normal transaction to the listing side. And then post-closing, we're going to need an additional 2 weeks, assuming that we have a contractor and a bid and a HUD consultant all in place at the beginning to get everything together. But once it leaves my hands and then goes to the investor who's going to carry out the draw process, if you don't have the right people in place, you're going to have people who feel like they're not getting paid on time, the work's not getting done as quickly as it should be, the borrower is going to blame the contractor is going to blame the borrower or the HUD consultant.
The blame game.
Then the realtor's going to be getting all this feedback from both sides, and he or she is going to feel like it's their fault, and then they're going to come back to me, but it's already moved to the investor at that point, and I go, hey, I don't know, there's nothing I can do, and it's ugly for everybody. But if you have the right people in place, even though these things, all 3 of us have construction experience and understand that even in the best of circumstances, things don't always go perfectly, but if you have the right people to execute that, you'll be able to get through the process without it hurting feelings.
So here's my thing. Is that what we used to call it when you worked for construction? Is that what that was?
I mean, I've
Here's
got
the zing. Here's the zing.
I thought it was
I've got destruction experience
He worked for
in the construction
The coffee's
business.
starting to kick in.
Yeah, you can tell. You
the
can tell.
coffee's
Well done,
kicking
Jerry.
in. The coffee's kicking in. So thank you for doing that. The short version of that, the ones that are successful have the right relationships in the beginning. And that's why
Exactly.
Scott's so important and your skills are so important. I've got a little experience in it myself, is to have the right people and being able to convey that to the client. And as you've noted, most agents don't have this background that we have.
Yep.
And or the licenses that other licenses that we have on that end of it, and maybe are not able to communicate that to the buyer. Scott's got all the team members, and that's
Yeah.
an important thing.
It is. My very first deal was an FHA 203K loan, and I didn't know any
When was
better.
that? When was that?
It was 2017, and I didn't know
Welcome
any
to the
better.
business, baby!
And I looked at the person that was helping me. He was a teammate, Seth Batten, and then Cynthia Hash really helped me through that. And I looked at him. I was like, man, are all real estate transactions this difficult? He said no, and I was like, oh man, thank God, because I don't know if I could have went through it. It took me 6 months to close my first deal, and then like Scott said, or Keith, they are relationship killers, because the contractor was mad at the homeowner was mad at the contractor, and it just turned into a nightmare where I was almost subpoenaed for a court, and I was like, oh my goodness.
On your first deal.
On my first deal. I was like,
Wow.
fantastic, man. I was like, oh. And so, it was a very good learning experience.
I bet it was.
Wasn't that bad, right?
No, it
I'll
wasn't.
tag Seth. What do you want to tell Seth here? I said you
Thanks.
just got some props from Kerry Griggs live on air. What else you want to tell him?
Thanks for all the help. Him and Cynthia really kind of helped pave the way for what I have going on now, and I'm very grateful for what I had in the beginning, because I'm a very much get stuff done kind of person, and they were like my anchor when I first started out. So thank you to y'all guys. Had I known that it would have been that difficult, I'm still grateful that I went through that process, and I learned a ton of experience through that. But everything else come a little bit easier after that one. But I think, bringing some of those loan products, and if you look around the Admiral area, you see that there's a lot of properties that could benefit from that.
All you got to do is look through the first half of the 14, and
Yeah,
that's
you're there, right there.
You're already there.
But
All it takes is a couple of buzz through the photos to go ahead and figure that out.
A lot of agents watching. Let's highlight some people. Meredith Young of
Hey,
Keller
Meredith.
Williams has this. She says HGTV has played a big part in changing the expectations and what we have to have in a home. And I see it all the time in my conversations with buyers and sellers. HGTV is influencing things at clips we don't truly understand.
Can I just encourage you to tell your buyers to pause the video and see if they can look for a half-inch gap in the baseboard or whatever they're talking about? I mean, they go through it quickly, and it's not the 2-month time frame that they're giving you or whatever time frame that they are. They have the ability to cut and edit as much as they want.
So my guy was Bob Vieler in this old house.
Oh yeah, man.
That kind of puts a little age.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it when they be like, well, you should be able to get it done
So,
at this price.
My favorite is House Hunters. It's like, here's a young couple. One of them makes like scarves made of feathers, and the other one is like a harpist, and their budget is $910,000,
Yeah.
and
You showed me
they're
that
shopping
guy.
somewhere in Hawaii. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell is this?
Yeah.
How does this make sense? You know what I'm saying?
It's unrealistic.
It's TV.
Yeah, it's TV,
Yeah.
and
It's not real talk with Keith Smith, I can tell
it's
you that
not real
much.
talk. But that's when you have to have those real conversations with your buyers and sellers. I get the question all the time when I go on listing appointments, what are the things that I need to do? And I'm like, okay, well, what's your budget and how much do you want to sell it for? Should I repaint the entire house? Well, let's talk about that. If you repaint the entire house, you may paint it the color that somebody don't like.
Right.
Maybe take a little bit less and walk away without having to do all the repairs.
But painting gets my suggestion. Painting gets this new house smell, and it could be neutral colors.
Just paint it mono gray.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Agreeable
it works.
gray, baby.
Yeah.
It works
That's what we use.
in moving the
or
products.
old man tan.
It works with moving the products, but for me, paint is like maintenance.
I almost bought a truck tan.
Well, I mean, you've said on the show before, painting the house is not an upgrade.
No, it's not an upgrade.
Yeah.
Changing
No.
your cabinets out are not an upgrade.
Yeah.
New countertops is not an upgrade. These
Putting
are things.
solar on is an upgrade, right?
Putting
If you don't
solar
have
on is
solar
an upgrade.
upgrade, converting.
Putting solar on is an upgrade,
I would say
It is?
so. If
Oh, yeah.
it eliminates your electric bill.
Sure, it is. Yeah.
but it doesn't. All right, so there's a sponsor of the
Careful.
Solar Farm. Yeah,
Careful.
yeah, yeah.
Careful.
I'll keep
Careful.
that for an off-air.
Careful. Have a
If
sip
it
of your
eliminates
coffee.
your electric bill, that's
We were
takes away
doing
your
the
monthly
angry
expense.
Glimmerman was doing so good.
No, I appreciate
doing
his
so-
authenticity. He's who he is, and he's
Yeah.
unabashed about it, and that's why I like him.
But if every house has it, I don't think it's an upgrade. New cabinets, new countertops, fresh paint. That's not an upgrade.
Yeah, an upgrade would be switching from
Carpet to luxury.
Manual to
Yeah.
a bidet.
All right, I like it.
How about this from Grayson?
It's okay, no
Fellas,
plumber's
is a
spots,
new
you're
fence
good.
in the backyard an upgrade? Or installing a fence in the backyard an upgrade?
I think that it's going to draw more buyers to it
Yeah.
because that's one of the
He
requirements.
said he
that
just
they-
did that, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to draw more buyers to your listing. Do I think it's an upgrade? I don't think you'll ever get your money back out of it for
Yeah.
what you're going to spend on it.
what's the number one upgrade that your highest? Oh, I was actually reading it this morning from the National Association of Home Builders. It's been true forever. What is the highest return on investment that you can get on an improvement to a house?
Ooh, I always tell people there are 3 things that really sell your house: curb appeal, kitchens, and bathrooms.
There you
That's
go.
in my
There you
opinion. So if I was going to concentrate any of my efforts, I would say curb appeal. I mean,
So
that's
it's a garage door, believe it or not.
really.
It's about 110% return on your dollar. Front door is the next one, which is right along lines of your curb appeal.
And it's like a door song. The best way to do it is to paint it black.
Paint it black.
There you go. Comments coming in.
I'll have to double check. I'm pretty sure that was
Facts.
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 I think your best bang for
We
your
got a
buck is
fact
gonna
check
be
door
curb
songs,
appeal.
okay.
Yeah.
Like you're going to spend a little less money on doing the mulch, cutting the grass, doing some repainting on some things.
So a
Power
buyer, as this is statistically proven, makes her decision within 5 to 7 seconds.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
5 to 7 seconds.
You have-
all 5 senses kick in. If you can't get past those 5 senses in 5 to 7 seconds, it's very difficult.
Do you think that you only get one impression? I sometimes think that you get 2 impressions, right? You get the curb appeal impression, what they think about when they walk up and when they open the front door.
I think you may even get 3. You guys are the pros here. I just learned from you guys. You got the first impression is digital curb appeal. What's the house look like online? The second impression is actually what the house looks like in
He's
person.
100% right.
And then the third impression is walking in and what can you envision as possibility.
I was getting a cup of coffee at Jaybird this morning before I came in at our office, and the barista literally asked me that question. How come I look at these pictures online when I go look at a house, it's freaking different?
Yeah.
Hey, my favorite thing is looking at a house or looking at like the picture, and I'm like, that grass doesn't look like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Like-
all great. This guy is
called
super
Photoshop.
blue.
Well,
It's called
you're not
Photoshop.
supposed to do that. That's an ethics violation.
You can't Photoshop pictures?
You are not allowed to Photoshop pictures.
But you could digitally edit the photos.
Yeah, you can change like light colors and all that stuff, but you can't Photoshop it, take dirt, and
Well,
turn it into grass.
I'm going to put this out there. This is me saying this, not you. A lot of the photos
Yeah,
that
you would know.
Okay, are Photoshopped.
You're not supposed to do it.
This is
Hey.
literally what we do
I'm
here.
a grass snob, and I know that
It
ain't
doesn't
right.
look like that. Maybe they called. Maybe this is a new partner for your show. Maybe it was Virginia Green they called, Keith.
I was going to talk about a different grass, but I won't do that.
Still a snob.
Right. Me too, Scott. Me too. Travis is watching in Danville, Virginia. He says, first-time home buying is tough. If I hadn't landed a sweet deal buying my grandma's house to renovate, I for sure would have ended up in a loft in downtown here in Dan Vegas or an apartment to start. A decent home now is minimum $300,000 in Danville.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
New
mean,
guys in the market just can't do it
That's
or have a
because
very hard
Danville
time. Danville's hot.
Well, it's blowing up with data centers. That's what's.
And the casino.
oh, there's a casino down
Yeah,
there?
there's a casino.
Caesars, yeah.
You should follow him. He does some great stuff, Travis. And
Actually, you know what? I'm the client I'm texting the listing agent on right this morning just opened the casino. He works for the state and helps open these casinos. There are 3 right now in the state. There's one there. And then there's.
So you work for the mafia?
3 more approved. Yeah, the government. Yes. Yes.
I knew I'd get a kick out of that one for that. So look, to brush off some home sellers and their experience, typical home seller. Anybody want to take a gander at what the age was for the tip last year, the typical age for a seller?
No clue.
It would be my birthday, 60.
Really?
The
Boomers
Boomers
typical,
downsizing?
the typical home seller is 60 years old. That's last year they were 56. What's the number one reason for folks to put their houses on the market?
Down.
According to NAR.
Make money? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's be realistic.
Desire to move closer to friends or family, 21%. Retirement is 11%.
You know, I was just telling my director.
A rather disturbing thing, neighborhood has become less desirable, 11%. So those are the top three percentages. But it's not for interest rates. It's not forever. It's for to be closer to family and friends and retirement.
I was just telling my director of operations a sweet little niche to be in would be for those looking to retire and go to those 55 and 65 plus communities. You know, if you could market to those sellers that maybe have sold and empty nested.
You want to go down to 55 and over? Because I've got a lot of experience in that. That is a slippery slope.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well,
Educate me a little bit.
yeah, well, there's a project that I may have lost $17 million
that's
on.
fair.
That was
Yeah.
a 55 and over project. That's not the story of it. The downside to that, the reason they're becoming less popular, they were very popular in the early 2000s. They're hard to resell,
Yeah.
right?
I could see that.
So it's a deeded restriction. You can't have anybody living in the home that's under the age of 19.
Gotcha.
Right.
No,
I didn't know that.
I meant more for like the ones that are looking to either move in with family, not the 55 and older community, just somebody trying to move
So it's
from.
a federal regulate. It's a federally regulated
Yeah.
space, right? To 55 and over. Age targeted is not, and that's probably what
Right.
you're more speaking of. That the subdivision or the project is more suited towards people my age and up
45?
on that end of it. But it's very interesting. You should say that. I didn't bring that number with me because I didn't write it down. But multi-generational homes are increasing, not dramatically, but a little bit year over year.
Yeah. It just kind of sparked a trigger in me when you said move closer to family and friends. I see a lot of that. The older couples and clients that I have, that's their number one thing. Why are you selling? Well, I need to be closer to family.
Lot coming in, fellas. Lot coming in. Carrie Griggs is getting some props here from Randall Mays and Vinny Tuyul.
Vinny,
Tulo.
what's up, bro?
What's up, buddy?
Vinny, oh, you guys both know. Vinny's watching. He's watching the show. Giving you props. Courtney Thompson.
Nice.
Giving Scott props, and Courtney wants to know:
name
is
I
now
haven't
a
heard
good
in a long
time to
time.
buy? Scott.
Yes, now is a good time to buy because the sooner you can buy and start building equity, the better position you're going to be in the long run. And right now, we still have, everybody talks about, I'd like to wait until interest rate come down. And if that's the case, you're going to be competing with so many more people who are waiting for that same thing. Now is a fantastic time to buy.
Everybody that
Yona's screaming garage door and front door, Keith, and then she says in all caps, "Yes, Keith, yes." Yona, I love you, Yona
he
Smith.
can be taught.
Sounds like you have some projects to do.
Oh, don't go there.
He fixed the door to the studio, Yona.
Don't go there.
Nice.
Yona said, "There's a light out in the bathroom." I said, so I have to fix it because I'm the male. Is that the reason I need to fix it?
You know,
Come
I
on.
joke about this all the time. I tell my wife I'm going to do it. You don't have to remind me every 3 months.
Oh, mine's 6 months. I promise.
That's like asking Wells Fargo to close your loan. They're gonna
Oh, a little zinger right
Shots
there.
Bang, ooh, hey.
Shots fired from Scotty Moe. I love it. I love it. I love it.
We got to do a little bit.
Liza's escaping again here. The dog is escaping in the studio here. Do we have a Liza camera? I mean, I don't mind. She's here. You know
Yeah.
I love your dog, but I'm just letting you know she's escaping. Let's see. Comments coming in fast and furious. I'm trying to keep up with all of them right here. Do you want to take Liza? Liza's the dog, guys, for those that don't know, the I Love Seville mascot. She's in studio. Wow, you may have picked up some business here. I went to school with Scott. Courtney says, I will be reaching out to you very soon.
Awesome, bro. I appreciate it.
Courtney Thompson putting that in the feed. Courtney, Scott is a guy you can count on to process that loan to buy a house if you're shopping right now. All right, so this is coming from Kelsey, specifically for Scott, you guys say the rates are going to come down. Persuade me or convince me why I shouldn't wait till when I get more buying power to purchase a house. Why should I do it now when you guys say any time is a good time to buy?
Well, how much money do you have and how much do you not care about it? Would be my number one question. How much money are you paying each month to a landlord, rent, etc.? Rates come down, put more buyers on the table, increase the value or the perceived value of the homes that you're trying to buy. You're competing with more people, which means you're going to be in a multiple offer situation. So where if you're trying to buy a $350,000 house now that's then listed at $365,000 in the future, that warrants that cost because we have multiple comps that are associated with that number to do that. And then you have to go $10,000 over list to get your offer accepted, and you're waiving home inspections and everything that should protect you as a first-time buyer. You're giving that up just to get into the property. If you think that is a better scenario for you, just like we were in the last 12 to 18 months, from 12 months ago and beyond through like June of 2020, from June 2020 to September 2022, that's pretty much where we were. If you think that that is a better situation for you, then wait. If you think that you can get in now at a higher rate with the option to refinance later to save the money, or use some of the strategies like a 2-1 buy down, or depend what your situation is, you need to decide. But that's the why.
Kerry, let me ask this question real quick. Why, if you don't mind asking the question, why do you think you will have greater buying power if rates go down? I think that's the question.
Yeah.
And if we can answer that question, then we can help guide through that. The short version of what Scott said, if interest, and I believe dropping interest rates is not good for buyers right now, because what's going to happen?
More competition.
Yeah.
More competition. Prices are going to continue to go up.
Yeah.
On that end of it, so you're just on a hamster wheel.
Yep.
That is just going to keep on going. But I would really love to know why, because I have buyers asking me the same question, and I usually respond back. So explain to me why you think it is. So I'll let you jump in, Kerry.
And that's if you can even win the deal. I mean, us as agents and the buyers that have worked with us for a while, when we were putting in offers, it was on average, putting in 3 offers before any one of them got accepted. And I mean, that's on the low end. Unless you really gave it your all and were willing to waive those home inspection contingencies or an as-is home inspection or put an escalation clause in. I mean, that was the most difficult part, is having to tell your buyers, hey, I'm sorry you got outbid again.
I do think that lower rates are going to help the inventory situation, but it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, so explain that. So if interest rates, I'm kind of on board with that. So if interest rates drop down a little bit, Keith and Yona, okay, let me rephrase this. Yona wants to move, right? So, when interest rates dropping a little bit is, I can see that where that balance might happen if I have to sell and go ahead and buy where there may be more buying power because I have a ton of equity, interest rates are coming down, I can put a little bit much cash in there. I happen to be at the typical home buyer age of 60 at this particular point, or seller, excuse me, on that end of it. But I'm just really curious on the rationale of why lower interest rates will help your buying power.
Buying power or the inventory?
Buying power is, I'm back to the question on the buying power. Inventory, I think, certain folks will come back in. I think you're going to start seeing some of the rent, because rents are starting to stabilize, right?
Rents are stabilizing.
And they may start going the other way here.
Potentially.
But at least stabilized. They're not appreciating at such a high rate.
Not at the COVID clip, for sure.
Not at the COVID clip. So you might see a lot of people say, let me put my investment property. That might help it a little bit. But the conversation we're going to have on Friday with Neil Williamson is the real thing that needs to happen to increase inventory. And that is the regulatory requirements to allow new developments to get done. And I get off my soapbox and let you
I'm
jump.
excited about Friday's show, actually.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to that because I want to know some of the regulations and what's coming down the
Somebody
pipeline.
may or may not be in a costume on
Oh, you're going to wear a costume.
Nice.
The superhero fighting for housing affordability?
And I actually may or may not. Oh, Yona's watching.
Look, Yona is watching.
I may or may not have Amazon some stuff.
He's spending some money over here.
I usually try to get fun little stuff.
But you got a Real Talk credit card.
Oh, am I supposed to use that?
All right, stuff coming in fast and furious over here. Let's go to Courtney. Back to Courtney. And before I get to Courtney, we'll highlight Bobby Green watching the program.
Hey, Bobby.
In the construction business, I believe.
He is. He's a good
Bobby Green.
contractor.
Courtney says this, and I think you may have a loan. You could be close to closing over here, Scott. Does the recession or a pending recession going to impact housing in any capacity, and should we wait if a recession is on the near horizon?
I think it'll affect manufacturing jobs in places like Detroit through the Midwest. I think I've said it and I'll say it again. The area that we live in, while certainly not recession proof, is recession resistant.
Yeah.
Meaning that when you look at what was largely affected through 2008, 2009, from the DC metro area, Charlottesville, anywhere that is largely supported by universities, government funding, government contract positions, those markets were not affected the way that the Sun Belt and some places in Middle America were. And to the point, there's still, Detroit selling houses for $1, and that's still a thing. And it's because on top of the socioeconomic problems that they've had, trending for the last 3 decades, that was very detrimental to huge swaths of their economy.
What do you think, Kerry? Jump in here.
Well, I'm always an optimistic person, right? The glass is always half full, and I got people that always pour into that glass as well. So I'm a very optimistic person and a happy-go-lucky person. I'm always from the mindset, there's 3 things that people will always need: food, water, and housing. So, I just happen to be on the housing side of things, and it just depends on if you are partnering with the like-minded people. Are you going to be a renter? Which, don't get me wrong, there's a great market for that. If you are going to be, flexible with your living situation, if you're not secure in your job and you may need to move, or depending on what your job is, or are you going to be a homeowner and try to put some of that money back into your pocket and, like you said, climb that ladder where you are eventually building that equity into your own pocket.
I like it. Kerry's on point today. Keith Smith.
Yeah. Well, I was just, I've won this national award, and one of the quotes that I have is, helping folks with the 3 essentials for a trip around the sun is my why. And actually, in the beginning of the show, I wrote down in all this mess of paper, because, I'm old school, I write stuff down. I was going to ask you, what is your why? What is your why? Why do you get up every morning and help people? What is your why? I can't steal mine.
I
can't steal mine.
I get this. I get this question all the time, and mine is legitimately to change my family tree. Right. So every rich family, and I don't want to say rich because it sounds like just money, but I think
prosperous.
So I think there are 4 pillars to wealth: health, wealth, love, and happiness. And so if you have just 3 of those things and are lacking the one, it really doesn't make sense. So I am looking to build wealth for my family and to change my family tree. There's always that one millionaire that sets the family in the right trajectory. And don't get me wrong, I'm very humble about where I come from. My parents did a great job with trying to give me everything they could, but I want to take it to where my kids have the ability to explore ventures if they want to. If they want to invest in rental properties, they have the means to do so without having to, work 2 jobs to go to college just to get the experience that they need. So, and we're in a day and age now that I think that is fantastic, because you don't have to pay for education like you used to. YouTube channels. I mean,
the internet.
Grade school.
Yeah.
There's so much. I've learned more from TikTok than I probably did in high school, just because they talk about financial literacy. They talk about trust, real estate, Airbnbs, opening up an LLC. No one ever taught us how to open a business, and we just figured this out on our own as grown men, and we went through it the hard way. I'll only speak for myself, but I went the hard road, but it has better views.
That was fantastic.
I can speak to pretty much everybody at this table with as all came up the hard way.
Yep.
And what is your why, Scott? I never think I've ever asked you that question.
I think this is a great intro question for a BNI group. What is your why? My why is the people. It's just to go do the work. One, I don't prosper with too much free time, and I really like talking to human beings. So the more that I can pour myself into helping others, the better that I ultimately feel as a person overall.
Love it.
422 shows, I think today is. I'd never asked you that question. What is your why?
I mean, the boys said it better than I could. I just like being around people, and I like helping people, and I love this community.
There you go.
Been here 23 years. The community's been great to us, and just a matter of giving back. I mean, that was the whole concept of starting this network, as we saw a gap in the market with news. Said, why don't we help fill that gap? And then we got to hang out with cool people like you, and I learn from you guys all the time.
Too.
I mean, it's easy. I mean, questions are, the show's on fire right now. Okay, so Paul Limbacher, I hope I'm getting your last name right.
Hey, Paul.
You know Paul?
Yep, he's
Okay.
good.
He says, is now a good time to buy an investment property? He's interested. Who
Yeah.
wants to touch on that one?
Ironically enough, that's David's brother that owns Skooma.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hey,
oh,
Paul.
get out of town. I didn't know that.
Like I said, I'm always an optimistic person. Yeah, I would say it's a good time to buy an investment property because, again, people need three things to live. Rents, you can have a rental unit and you'd probably be doing someone a favor.
I'd say be wise about it. Like, you want, when we talk about the new duplexes that are being built, you going in to purchase one of those to be renting it at your mortgage payment might not be a good fit. But if you can go in and find something that's a little distressed that you can get in and apply that BRRRR method to, where you're buying, rehabbing, renting, and then reselling. I think that's all the
So
R's.
is this person a friend of yours?
Yeah, he's a friend.
I'm going to email you an ROI rental spreadsheet I created that you can send to this gentleman. You have to have a pretty strong cash position right now to go ahead and get into investment properties.
What you're saying, because down payment requirements?
Down payment requirements, you've got to do the ROI, return on investment. If my mortgage is X number of dollars, but my rent is Y, and you want to be at least cash positive.
For some of you, if it's going to be your first, let's say you're in a position to where you want to move up. You already own a home and you're ready to take your next step. You can actually take your next step into your primary. So where you're gonna make a minimum 3.5% to 5% down payment, moving into the zero down if you're a veteran, moving into the new property, and then take your existing property and convert that into your first investment. So that's an opportunity to get into to become a landlord without having to put 20% down and still taking on a property at a minimum down payment.
So you're suggesting taking cash out of your house? Is that what
Nope.
you're talking about?
I'm saying I own a house that's worth that's 2,500 square feet, and I'm going to buy my family's outgrown it, and we need a house that's a little bit that's got an additional
you're swapping
bedroom.
primary.
So we're going to go purchase this 4-bedroom to get out of our 3-bedroom 2-bath,
Yeah.
and then we're going to take and convert our current property into our
Yeah.
investment property.
So that's why you need a trusted advisor.
That's good stuff right
That's
there.
why this phone I hold in my hand will never be able to do this.
Right.
You have to sit down around a table or a conversation to walk through it. The reality of it is you either, if you can't do that, you need at least 20%, right? Down payment on it. And if we start looking at these $400,000 homes, all I'm saying is do the math, make sure you don't have yourself, upside down on your cash flow on the end of it, and you more than likely have to bring more cash to the table than you could have like when interest rates were 2 or 3%, that's where the buying power question comes in.
So I have a question,
Hope
and
that
I
makes
want to
sense.
kick this around to these experienced, business-minded people. Scott, you had just mentioned about taking.
Let's get Liza on the table.
What's that?
Let's get the dog on
talk
the
about
table.
So you had talked about a family outgrowing it. I bought a very modest home when I was, 12 years ago in a great location, Zion's Crossroads, and since we have outgrown our home. But we talk about these newer duplex that's coming up, and I just want to get some advice on a strategy that what you would do. If I went from a 2,100 square foot home and then I bought a duplex with 3,000 square foot on each side of it, could I use that as my primary residence? And instead of putting 20% down, I can use an FHA loan with 3.5% down and then rent out the other side.
I like how the man's thinking over here.
So conceivably, the question would become, in doing that from an underwriting perspective, is that really a move up for you leaving your single family detached to move into one side of a duplex?
Well, if it puts me closer to my job, work,
I'm not
and
saying
it's
the
bigger
argument
square foot.
can't be made, but I'm saying for everyone, it may not be a solid argument.
So you're saying it doesn't pass underwriting, vetting from underwriting?
Correct.
That's what you're saying?
I'm saying that could be an issue. I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm just saying that's where that probably gets a little gray.
Okay. Well,
So-
I always like to know my options, right? And as thinking from an investor mindset, I'm always trying to find that opportunity.
So 3.5 decades of doing this, one thing I've learned, one size does not fit all, right?
Right.
So every transaction, every SPY, every sell is very different unto itself. I've never really seen two transactions identically the same. Some are close, but
Yeah.
none of them exactly the same. And again, back to the point of needing trusted advisors, and if you go on Real Talk with Keith Smith and you pull the partner tab down, those trusted advisors are there, but you bring in a Scott, you bring in a Kerry into the kitchen table or dining room table or the virtual table in
Yeah.
today's world on that end of it to help you navigate what's specific to you.
Now, however, for the first-time buyer who could go in and buy the duplex as a multifamily, they could qualify off the future rental income of the non-occupied side. They'd be 3.5% down on theirs. That would be a great opportunity for someone who could get in and execute that. And throw in one other twist. Let's say your current primary is FHA. You couldn't go FHA into the second property. It's not that you cannot have two FHA loans, but there's parameters around it. You certainly couldn't buy 10 miles down the road. You would need to be making a job change and moving, say, 100 miles away, or some very legitimate reason that you had to retain the existing inside the same demographic. So the next purchase would need to be most likely 5% down conventional unless you were moving much further away.
Yeah, so I refinanced when the market was a little bit good. I got a low interest rate around the 5s, and I went from FHA to conventional. I was just trying to use that, or I would even do an FHA, a conventional loan on my next duplex. And I mean, there are some really nice ones. I have a client of mine looking to build a duplex because he wants to be close to his family. And I just looked at a really, really nice one off of Fifth Street. And it was really, really
Whereabouts
nice.
on Fifth Street?
So right there before you...
Is that Sherwood Manor you're referencing?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I know that
if you
neighborhood well.
Take a left, or if you take a right, you can get into Redfields, and then if you take a left, it's where those new developments are. But, it was a really, really nice home. It was much bigger than what I currently live in, and that's just one side of the duplex. So, it was just a shot in the dark trying to see what the options are, not just for me, but I know my friends are the same way.
And I was just kind of talking to anybody listening for like the nuances of like there is not necessarily there's lots of options, but there's also lots of pitfalls. So it's about knowing, having a full scope of what your individual situation looks like in trying to create a plan.
Joseph Collins giving Scotty Moe some props on the feed right now. I generally think Courtney Thompson is really ready to buy a home here. He's literally letting you know right here. Questions coming in fast and furious as we speak. Jamie Turner says this, the mayor of Gordonsville: buy, remodel, rent, refinance, repeat.
The Burr business. Yeah.
That's what he's doing. Buy, remodel, rent, refinance, repeat.
Oh, yeah.
So I was holding in my little hands, buyers have more options in 2023, but sellers are still mostly in control by the good Dr. Lisa Sturtevant. And everything who's the Bright's chief economist, Bright's MLS, everything we've been talking about is in essence in this article that, now's the good time to buy. I'm going to put numbers to it. While you guys were chatting, I just did some quick math here. So car footprint, last 30 days, we had an absorption of 9.3 units sold a day. So every day, 9.3 units went on the market. Based on the amount that's currently active right now in the 30 days, there's only 17 days left of inventory. So if nothing else comes back on, in theory, you would be going through all the inventory in a little over a half a month. Now, things come on, come off,
Yeah.
and all this kind of great stuff. But, the economists in the world look at absorption rates, and that's how that formula is done. So in essence, we've got about a half a month, little over, let's call it 3/4 month of inventory on the market, which is anemically low. Anemically low. What do you think, Scott?
I mean, I think that's goes back to being professionals, executing a good marketing strategy, getting in front of people who need to make these decisions, whether it be through death, divorce, moving up, moving out, what they need to do to put these homes on the market. Who's getting in front of them to one? If you're not doing it, they're probably getting a mailer from somebody in Northern Virginia who's going to step in as a stranger and try to sell a house in your market.
I'm getting a ton of those.
Are you starting to see the Northern Virginia agents decrease in our marketplace?
You know what?
I'm getting a lot of mailers from Richmond
Yeah,
folks.
I would say a little bit.
Yeah.
It's coming. You're starting to see everybody's reaching out a little bit further.
And I sent Jerry an article. We've been talking about this for a while. The IT business or industry out west is getting pretty decimated. But the articles, they're all coming eastward, and we've been talking about that. There was folks around Washington, D.C., but it bleeds down into our area and up north. So they're losing jobs there. They're coming here. We've got clients coming in from all over the area and agents in the marketplace. How do you think your end of your 23 is going to look? What are you projecting? Same as 2022, little...
You know what? I have lofty goals for this year, but I've also... Me and you had talked about this on our walk over here. During the big rush of last year, I kind of took a step back and I revamped my system. So I think I got a winning strategy that's going to help me implement the goals that I have. So I'm hoping that my 2023 is going to be better than my 2022. I had some lofty goals last year too, and I just fell a little bit short of those. But I mean, not too far from the goal. But I think this year, I'm super excited about the market. I think that now people has a little more time to think and get educated on it. I talk to my clients all the time about, the buy down, putting the money towards the points. I think it's still a good market.
I've said this on the show more than once. I'm more excited now about the real estate business than I've been in the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's because of who sits at this table. You need to know your job. You need to know how to navigate the minefields. And this may sound a bit, maybe not exactly what folks might want to hear. Frankly, getting the home on the contract is the easy part.
Yeah.
The hard part is getting from that to closing. And what I've found, and when the market starts getting the way it is right now, what I've found over the years, things start getting a little wonky.
Yeah.
Right? Deals are getting, you really need to bring your skills to the table to navigate that. And I didn't bring the dominoes here, but it seems like every project or every deal I'm part of, every home I'm trying to help either buy or sell, are multiple level dominoes.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that?
Yep, well said. It's definitely, like you said, you have to bring your skills to the table. It's no longer just being a customer service. Hey, here's your house. The contract part is easy, or relatively easy. It's how are you going to hold the deal together when you hit those rough spots? Financing may not be perfect. Well, what's some of the things I went through a transaction not too long ago. We had to do some things that were outside the box and get creative with it, but we were able to hold it together and we got the transaction closed. But you're going to have to sharpen your skills. If you haven't taken the last 8 to 12 months to sharpen your skills and all you've been worried about is the selling part of it, you're going to be in trouble.
So if you're out shopping for a real estate agent, the first thing you should be really looking for, what's the close rate?
Yeah.
What is their rate from putting it under
How
contract?
how can a homeowner that's thinking about listing their home figure that out?
Yeah, so I mean, you can just
Is that
go,
data out there?
yeah, it's kind of out there. You got to dig it up a little bit, But you can just ask the agent that you're interviewing, what's your close rate?
You get a straightforward answer on that?
You'll get it from us.
Yeah,
you
you'll
get it from everybody
us.
at the table, right? And we'll provide the data for it. But yeah, what's your close rate? Because like Scott, God bless him, is helping us with a transaction right now that's a multiple domino deals. The detached garage, because they took my advice and got a physical survey, is on the other property.
Nice.
I got a whole garage that's on somebody else's
Ooh, that one.
property.
Oh, and you just when you
We're
have
working through it.
skilled individuals like
We're
yourself
working
that
through
have
it.
been on the development side, you can work through it. Okay, it's not pleasant, and it can be quite painful.
We know who to bring to the table to fix it.
Because you've been through it. I honestly, having the professionals out here, I tell people all the time that I don't just research for my clients because I look up most people, but I also look up the other agent on the other side for two reasons. One, I want to see if I'm going to have to do any hand holding, or if they're a new agent, I don't want to take advantage. I want to teach and educate,
absolutely.
because when you are kind to those others, I'm not going to say it always is a win-win, but when you're kind to others, you're training good agents on the other end.
You said it better than I. That's
Dude,
why
Kerry's the man.
That's
This
the reason I
guy's
do
killing
that
it.
sixth one. Who's on the other side matters.
Yeah,
for that
it
exact
really
reason.
does.
I am shocked by the daily about the number of people who are in my side of the business who send out pre-approval letters to people who can't actually close on properties with the letter that they are sending out.
How does that happen?
It,
How is that
So
allowed?
I think
to
that's
happen?
called
no
bad salesmanship.
effing
Yeah.
idea.
Isn't that kind of what got us into trouble way back when?
This doesn't even get us in trouble. I'll tell you, this gets the client in
think-
trouble.
is that bait and switch?
Their earnest money. This
Ooh.
gets no, because these are assuming that they meet the qualifications in the letter, which they know they already don't. So then I've got an agent who goes, "Hey, something seems weird about this." They send it to me. It's like, "All right, well, man, sir, you have a $400,000 pre-approval, but you don't have $30,000. So were you planning on getting a credit for your closing costs? How did you think that this was going to work?"
So we're at 11:33, but I do want to ask this question of you because I had just recently was asked me of the question. Tell me about the pre-approval process that you go through. What's required? How does this? Because when I get a pre-approval letter from you, it's a lot more than just a letter with a signature on it. So
Yes.
tell me what goes in a few words, what goes in the back end of that.
So, any one of the me's of the world that get in front of the you's of the world are always the best at what they do. They're always the best at what they do. And let's say that they actually do close all their loans on time. If that's the best thing about what you do, how else does that benefit your partners? But to the question, I want all the documents: pay stubs, bank statements, W-2s, tax returns if they're self-employed. I want to see the 401k, the IRA. If we're going to be depreciating assets out of that, we want all the answers up front, which we can typically collect in a matter of hours, depending on how organized the borrower is. And if not, and they can get us in touch with the professionals that hold some of these documents, we're going to reach out to them. We're going to go through. We're going to do the work. We're going to run. Whether through LP, DU, GUS, we're gonna get the automated underwriting approval, and we're gonna back that with the actual findings, read all the lines, make sure that there's nothing that we're missing, so that when we send you a letter, your client is going to close.
Thank you. That's what I needed you to do, because not to shade anybody in your industry. Sometimes it's just a social security number and here's a letter.
Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so-
What do you make a year? Oh, okay, yep.
So this is
Let's throw it on the wall and see if it sticks, baby.
Yeah.
but this is much.
Is that bait and switch?
It's incompetent,
Okay.
gross, negligent, maybe, but it's not bait and switch.
Okay.
Yeah, that bait and switch is a difficult thing to prove.
yeah.
But the point I'm trying to drive
Because what are
at,
they going to switch them to if they don't actually qualify?
I mean, maybe a lower price point.
so
At best.
So back helping the buyer, we're buying Jerry's home, right? And we're helping the buyer do that. And I've got really a vetted pre-approval letter, and Kerry's helping Jerry Sell, when I hand this letter from Scott, he knows, hey man, this just isn't a Social Security number.
So my corporate, to Ross in general, we have something that's called a guaranteed pre-approval, where we send out a letter to the listing agent that says, if for any reason related to what we're doing, this does not close, we'll pay you $1,000. And I always get in these meetings, how come you guys don't do these? Because all of my letters are guaranteed pre-approvals. If I send it out, the borrower
Unless I
is
do
going
something
to close.
stupid, like go buy a brand new Mercedes or
Unless,
something.
yes.
Don't buy new
But-
furniture for
yes,
your
unless
brand.
Not
there's
that I'm,
some
honey, not that I'm going to
true-
do that.
You know,
when
I
you're
t-
away
hey, I had
for a week.
I had a borrower who lost $4,000 in gift funds because they sold a car on Auto Trader and was given sent wired money for $3,000 more than what they needed, and then they turned around and took money out and turned this fake money into real money, and it turns out it was fraud. So it all got backed out of the deal, and I'm going to help the agent and the borrower. We kicked in like $3,000 to make that work for everybody.
So here's the
There was no negligence of mine. We just wanted to, we weren't going to leave this lady homeless.
So the bottom line is, we tell buyers all the time, once you sign this contract, don't do anything without talking to Scott or myself or Yona or whatever. Don't open a credit card. Don't do anything until it closes.
In this case, I found out after the fact, and if I found out at the time, I'd have been like, they sent you $3,000 extra dollars. Call the police.
Yeah.
It seems like common sense, right?
That's
People just when they're when they're already in a
It's too
tough
good
position.
to be true. It's probably not reality.
common sense is two very big words. That
It's not so common anymore.
it's not so common. It's not so
How about we do
simple.
this, gentlemen? Let's get Carrie Griggs in the mix on some closing thoughts here.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm super excited about the market. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for both the buyers and the sellers. I think if you've been in the market or been following the market, I think this year is going to be a good year for you to buy. If you're selling, I think there's still opportunity. You still have a little bit more control than you probably know. I think there are ways that we can make it a win-win for everyone. Get your trusted advisors and stick with them and listen to the advice. I think that having the right team makes a world of difference, and I can't stress that one enough. Do your due diligence on your partners, right? Your realtors, your lenders. Like Keith said earlier, look at their close rates. I mean, are they blowing smoke, or are they really truly have your best interest at heart? I probably win more clients for telling them that this home's not the right home for you. It doesn't check all your boxes, and there's some deficiencies here. And I think that one gets me more business than anything else, is just being an outright good person.
There you go.
God.
I mean, my thing is, if you're out there and you're an agent and you're not working with somebody who's helping you focus on your marketing, because if you're out there looking for, if a coach got in touch with you, or you found a coaching program and they're trying to teach you to sell something, how do they find you? They found you through marketing. And if you're competing against agents who are discounting their value to win a listing, if you're not communicating to that seller that I might be 1% higher, but at the same time I could gross you 3% more, where is your value? Where's your value? What are you doing for your people? What are you doing to grow your business? And when it comes back to what Carrie said, who's your team around you that's going to help you make success happen in 2023?
Well said, Scott.
So
Keith
on,
Smith.
on the discount end of it, when you hit a certain age, you have to go to a lot of doctor's appointments. So actually this morning at 8 o'clock, I was at a doctor's appointment for something of a certain age you have on a routinely every 5 years done. And he was talking about real estate, yada, 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 yada. Hey, I'm trying to sell my house. So can you discount your rate for me? I went, sure. You're going to discount the rate of the procedure for me? He goes, oh, no, I can't do that. So, okay. Just wanted to point that out to you. Got it. Not a problem. So it's okay for me to discount my professional services, but not yours. But
How do you handle that answer? That was a great answer.
yeah, he said, when can you come look at the house?
There you go.
Do you want to go to a discount doctor, or do you want to go to the best doctor?
There you go.
There you go. Gentlemen, you guys crushed it today.
Thank
He's rock star.
Awesome. Thanks for coming
Well,
on.
you've just been signed up as a guest host.
I'd love to be on the
Love to
show
do
anytime
that.
you'd have me.
Yeah, Keith Smith guys, Scott Morris, Kerry Griggs. The show is Real Talk with Keith Smith, archived at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. The show is presented by Scott Morris and Ross Mortgage on a Wednesday. Scott Morris is someone you can trust to get you past the finish line and into the home of your dreams, the investment property of your dreams, the vacation home of your dreams. We would be remiss not to highlight Judah Wickower, the man behind the camera and the microphones. Thank you, Judah Wickower. The I Love CVille show is up in approximately 49 minutes. Take care, everyone. Hold on, boys.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
guys. Man.
Yeah.